In this lesson, we're going to be creating a GitHub account, as this is where our code base will live outside of our local computer. We're also going to be installing the GitHub CLI command line interface, and this allows us to interact with GitHub from Cursor. And then we're going to be pushing our code to the main branch on GitHub. Now, it's important to get this done as soon as possible. We just square it away, get everything sort of connected, and then we can just focus on building. And if we want to build safely, in terms of not losing any code, not sort of messing up too much, then we need to use GitHub. So that's what we're going to focus on in this lesson. I wanted to give you just a quick overview of all of the tools and services and how they connect, but just focusing on GitHub for now. So we can see where I'm hovering my mouse, we have Cursor. And we have got two arrows pointing to GitHub and then back from GitHub to Cursor. And this is because we are working on our local project, but GitHub will also be where we store our project as well. And GitHub was created for collaboration purposes, and also because if you think about when you use your computer on a day-to-day basis, maybe you're using Dropbox instead of saving everything to your local computer. And GitHub allows us to have perhaps you could call it a single source of truth, where our code base needs to live up in the cloud where it's safe in case we have a problem with our computer. Okay. So we're just dealing with these two parts to begin with, and then later on we're going to be connecting Vercel as well, and that's where our project is deployed to on the internet, and that's where the user base will be loading the project from. So let's start with GitHub. Head over to github.com and sign up for an account. I'm going to move through this process very quickly, and I'll see you when you're signed up. Okay, guys. Before we continue, I just wanted to reconfirm that the tech world is moving very, very fast now. So if your GitHub interface looks slightly different to mine, please just work your way through it, because it will be impossible for all of these tools and services to just stop development while I'm creating a course. They are all going to be pushing up updates which will make the interface slightly different in places. But for now, let's continue. Let's go ahead and create a repository. And my username is GregoryJohnDev. We're going to call this repository Serif. Now this is very important. We want to choose private here, okay? Not public, we want to choose private. Public means it is publicly accessible. Anyone can see your code. We're working on a private project. Then scroll down and say create repository. Okay, fantastic. So we've got some instructions here, and we will be doing or applying some of these commands in Cursor very shortly. So we now have our repository up on GitHub, okay? But we're working in Cursor and our project is on our local computer. So we actually need to synchronize now by pushing the repository up to GitHub. Now, this course will take you through many sort of first-time installs, and most of the time, for instance, what we're about to do next, you only ever have to do once in your coding career, and that is we're now going to install the GitHub command line interface on our computer so that we can communicate directly with our GitHub account, which is up in the cloud, okay? Head over to cli.github.com and follow the instructions to install the GitHub CLI. Now, I've already done this, so I'm going to skip this part, but you can see that you can already download for Mac. For Windows users, click on View Instructions. Scroll down till you find the relevant Windows instructions here. And I suggest using the Wingit option. And to be able to use that, you might have to install Wingit directly. So you can click across and follow the instructions. Okay, as I said, I am a Mac user, so I'll be trying my best to include Windows users. But for the most part, you've got ChatGPT to ask whenever things don't quite translate 100%. So go ahead, guys, install the CLI for both Windows and Mac users, and I'll see you back here shortly. So open Cursor once the CLI tools are installed, and then open your terminal. Now, in the previous lesson, we started our development server and we opened the web page with the app running. Now, you'll notice that you have a Node tab, okay, and this is your server. This is Node.js running in the background. In order to run some commands in the terminal, we need to add another tab. So I'm going to click on this plus icon that says New Terminal. So now we have GitHub up in the cloud. We've got our project created, and we're working locally in Cursor in our Serif folder. Now, what I'd like to do is connect to GitHub from the terminal, and this will enable us to be able to push and pull or fetch code from GitHub directly. So what we're going to do for this is gh space auth space login. And now we just follow the instructions. So you can use your arrow keys to make a selection. We want github.com. Very important, we're going to choose HTTPS for this. If you want to explore SSH, you're welcome to use ChatGPT for that. I'm going to say yes, and then yes to log in with the browser. I'm going to copy this code, Command C on my Mac, and then I'm going to press enter to open a browser window. Okay, I'm already signed into GitHub with Gregory John Dev, so I'm going to click continue. And then I'm going to paste in that code. Authorize GitHub. Congratulations, you're all set. Let's head back to Cursor. Now I'm just going to type the word clear, just to clear this out. And now we're actually going to push our local folder up into GitHub and then keep everything synchronized and then start to use good developer practices by committing our code, often using version control. And that we'll get to when the time is right. But for now, I do want to get that folder up onto GitHub. Okay, now we're going to set our global Git username and email. Just going to make some more space for that. And you can find this command just below the lesson. That's where I'll be pasting all of the terminal commands as well as prompts whenever I use them. So the first thing I'm going to do is type git config -- and then global username user.name and then space. And in inverted commas, I'm going to type my username. So Gregory John Dev, and then hit return. I've just noticed a spelling error, Gregory John Dev. There we go. And then I'm going to press the up arrow because that will bring up the previous command, and then just use backspace to set the next one, which is user email. Inverted commas, I'm going to use the email I signed up with. So mine was developer@buildcamp.io. I can close this down a sec. Okay, please do the same with the same credentials you just signed up to GitHub with. Okay, now press up arrow again. And I just wanted to make sure on the previous one that the email is set. So I'm going to type git config global user.email, but I'm going to leave off my email because this should now return developer@buildcamp.io. And there you go, guys. We now have our global Git username and email set. This might seem quite unfamiliar working in the terminal, but trust me, you'll begin to appreciate working in the terminal as this course goes on and as your career goes on. It's very fast. There's no need to download packages or work in a browser. Everything is done here in shorthand. It's very quick. It's just a matter of getting used to it because it'll feel unfamiliar at first. All right, stick with it. The next thing we're going to do is just type clear. Okay. And now we're about to perform our initial commit. And I just want you to follow along at this stage. Don't worry about even what you are typing. I mean, I'll talk through it, but you don't have to commit this to memory right now because, in fact, the next few commands we're going to be typing, you're going to be using possibly in every lesson from here. So you will get used to it. I want you to type git add space and then period or full stop. And if I actually click across, you can do the same to this icon here. This is basically version control. And we can see that we have some stage changes. One of them has a line through package.json, package lock.json. And we have, so that's a D for deletion. And then we have an A for adding, pnpm lock.yaml. And this is basically changes we've made to the package manager we want to use. Not super important to understand for now, but I was just showing you that by typing git add period, we've now staged some changes. So we're preparing these files to be committed. After this, type git commit, and then -m or -m for message, and then in inverted commas, I want you to type initial next JS app. Press return. And we can see now it says publish branch. Don't use this tool, guys. Let's use the command line editor instead. It's a more professional approach. Okay, after committing, I've just typed in clear because we have made our project ready to push, but we do need to set the URL of the GitHub repository first. Okay, so let's go to GitHub. Here we are. And actually you can see that we have done some of these steps. We have done git commit, and now we need to set this remote origin. So I'm going to copy this line, git remote add origin, and then this is the URL to our private repository. And we can access our private repository because we are authenticated locally with GitHub using the CLI. So I'm going to press Command and C to copy that. And you can see what the next command after that would look like. Let's go back to cursor. And then paste that in. And guys, don't forget, your URL is unique. It's different to mine, okay? So don't copy mine, copy yours. Now that we've done that, we can finally push our local repository to GitHub. So I'm going to say git push u origin main. And the u flag is only going to be used once per branch. So when we create a dev branch, which we will be doing, the first time we push the dev branch, we use the u flag. Once that's been done the first time, we don't need to use the u flag anymore. Again, you do not need to commit this to memory. All of the instructions are in the lessons below, and you can just revisit them for your next project. All right, guys. Don't need to worry about what's being returned here, but let's go to GitHub to see if anything's changed. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. Guys, and there you go. Your project called Serif, which is a private repository, is now in your GitHub account. And this is very exciting. We've done some good work here, and we are basically set up with version control, which we'll be using as soon as possible. I'll see you in the next lesson.